All right, back in Jers. We're back July 1st. It's a new month. And I'll be honest, I'm glad it's a new month because the last few weeks for us have been dark. They've been painful. I'm in a bad place. Had Tom last week. He led pretty much the whole tournament. Had Akshay last week, or 2 weeks ago, Tom had Akshay last week. He also led pretty much the whole tournament. You had Rory at the US Open. He also led most of the tournament. How are you feeling? Because I'm not feeling too good right now.
Yeah, I mean, you'd almost always rather have 0 guys in the mix than have a real chance to win for 4 straight days, only to fall up a stroke or 2 short. And it's just like a dagger. I didn't even want to text you because I didn't know how you were feeling. Of all people to lose to, Cam Davis. And the way that it happened, there was no way to put it. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It hurts. I felt for you the whole time. Obviously, I didn't have a dog in the fight last night or yesterday. You and our boy BK had Akshay, and I had EVR. He was chilling. Didn't make a fight. P. Raj was out early too, so I was just watching the golf, and then I didn't want to bother you guys. I didn't want to get in your way, and I was just watching it all unfold. And I'm sure you can explain. I at least try to explain how you feel, how it went down, but it was definitely a tough scene.
Yeah, the Cam Davis thing, it actually makes it not hurt quite as bad because CNCD, if I had to pick somebody to win in a crushing loss for me, CD would be up there for sure on the list of guys that I would choose. I am disappointed because on the site, we do a Monday write-up where we kind of talk about the course and our initial thoughts on guys. And then obviously Tuesday, Wednesday, we've got the picks and DFS and kind of our final thoughts on guys. I wrote up on Monday. I usually pick like 10 guys in the odds that kind of jump out to me as like, that's kind of, doesn't make sense. All I wrote was Cam Davis 80, disrespectful. Because it was a crazy number, and I regret not just clicking the 80 right there, because then I didn't bet that, and then it moved to like 50, 60. It was one of the rare times where actually like the mover won. It wasn't, a drifter week or something like that, and I didn't get the best number, even though I literally saw the best number. So that kind of sucked, but I will say, yeah, CD winning takes away a little bit of the pain. We'll get to how it all went down at the Rocket Mortgage here in just a second. But before we get started, as always, we appreciate if you're watching on YouTube, just like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, a nice 5-star review, maybe a little comment. Always appreciate it. Helps get the pod out there in front of more people. On a week like this, it's the John Deere Classic. We know it's not the most popular week, but we know the people who are interested in this type of stuff, who are watching, are the people who love ball, and we try to give the best content that we can for that. And then positive news, we'll get back to the sad news from the Rocket Mortgage in a second. Boots on the ground. Royal Majesty UK Open in Scotland. The boots will be on the ground there in a couple of weeks. We're going to be there covering practice rounds Sunday, which is unique. We usually don't get Sunday practice rounds at major venues. They do have that for the Opens. We'll be there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We'll probably do our normal pod on Monday. And then everything else will be up on the site, just like it was at the US Open. So we'll obviously talk more about that as we get a little bit closer, but really excited for that. And if you do, you're going to be consuming content maybe this week, maybe for the Scottish. And then we got the Open where there's multiple crossover events where we combine the DP with the PGA Tour, which is, that's doesn't get much better than that for us. So if you are going to be, interested in that stuff, we've got the monthly for $34.99, and then of course the weekly at $9.99. We're excited for all that, and we really appreciate all the support from the previous boots that we've done that allows us to continue to do this for the last big event of the year. So Jers, I'm excited about that. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, please definitely tell your friends, share it if you're a subscriber, get our name out there, because there's no one on earth giving you the content that you guys are asking for. Whoever you guys want, let us know. We're going to see in the Discord, and just we are your eyes on the ground for those 3 days that we're there. So no big media outlet can do this. No big media outlet has done this before. So we're getting you that content for 100,000 steps, and we're doing it. So like always, I'm sure we got great positive feedback last time. Hopefully it goes well again here. Trying to deliver. We're 1 for 2 right now, but we've mixed hard at both events. So let's make it 3 for 3.
Yeah, and then the other was we had Boots at the Players mixed hard.
Right.
There
Oh, Xander. Yep.
Xander as well. So, yeah, we'll try to get some guys in the mix. But as Jer said, it's really, and we always say this the week of too. It's like we're providing an additional data point to add to the other data points. And I think we talked about the US Open, like the model for the US Open was great, even though we didn't pick Bryce and he was third in the model because we're trying to use the information we find on the ground to build the best stuff we can. So we'll talk more about that as we get closer, but really excited for that. And once again, just thank you to everybody who supports us on a weekly basis and also for those boots on the ground. Because I'll be honest, going into US Open, we kind of talked about, we're like, let's see, we don't know if we're going to, be able to do the Open, and it's awesome that we're able to do that this year. So again, thanks everyone for that. But let's turn our attention back to what took place in Detroit, Jers, because I went into the week not planning on betting Akshay. I even texted, I didn't think it made a lot of sense coming off of the Travelers. But then as I kind of looked more into it, there had been a lot of guys who had success at the Rocket after playing good at Travelers, kind of riding the wave of the hot hand. Akshay got off to a great start. It all looked good. I'll be honest. I was on him at Valero. He went wire to wire there. So pretty much the whole week, I had no reason to feel bad about it. I felt good pretty much the entire week. Like, he maintained the lead every day. Rye was up there. I wasn't that worried about Rye. Like, honestly, even I took kind of a lead in the final round. I was like, he doesn't want it. It's not going to happen for Rye.
Truthfully, doesn't want it.
And then we had other guys up there, like CY's up there. I'm obviously never afraid of CY, and we'll talk about him more, I'm sure, shortly. Honestly, Davis was the main guy where I was like, he's got dog. Like, he doesn't get in the mix often, but like, he's won here before. He's got dog. He's clearly a super talented player. Like, it was fun hearing them on the broadcast. Every single person on the broadcast, like Trevor and Colt, they were like, we watched this guy on the range and he stripes. Like, why does this guy not win more? And that's literally the take that we give about CD all the time.
Yeah, he's literally our guy. I happily see him win. But like, I meant to ask, even like at 50, 60, are we like dumb for not betting him? Like, we bet so many guys at these numbers, like even last week, that are just prolific losers with not even like they were in good form coming in. But Cam Davis was in pretty bad form, but it was a good number on a golf course that made sense. And we always say, like, we bet Cam Davis that number is not really form or anywhere that makes sense. So I'm kicking myself a little bit for not getting to Cam Davis. But with Akshay, originally during the Monday, I was going to click Akshay and Minwoo. Glad I didn't, because it obviously didn't work out. But obviously I bet Akshay last week at Travelers. So I was like, all right, can I just bet him one more time? I'll be really hurt to see him win this week. And although I wasn't on him, I really thought he was going to come through, and I was a little bit upset there, but I was pulling for you guys. And I don't know. It was just like the way that it came down with the putter. I made the take that Akshay's been a professional golfer for 5.5 years and he's only gotten to 20 under twice. And I'm like big on those key numbers. And not that he couldn't have. If the course was easier, he definitely would have. But it was just like he didn't make a lot of putts over the weekend. Like, he really did not. Made a few nice par saves, but I feel like he's never really got the putter super hot. The lag putts were amazing, like the best take we've ever had. The lag putts were awesome, but I feel like he just never got that putter rolling over the weekend.
The thing was, like, I agree, he definitely didn't putt great over the weekend. The fact that he 3-putted the last hole and missed that par putt, he had made a shit ton of those par putts. Like, he had made
the par putts were awesome.
Yeah, he had made like every 5 to 10 foot putt the whole week. Brooks. Yeah, I felt like on those putts, I wasn't confident on the last putt, just because I was like,
me neither.
I was like, we're fucked. Like, this is how it's going to end. But every par putt up until that point, I felt really good about. CD didn't putt great either, though. He burned a fuck ton of edges and like got robbed a couple times. That's why I also it was a horrible beat, because Akshay just needed to birdie one of the par 5s, and he was in the position to do that, and he would have won. Like, I don't think he makes bogey on 18 if he has a 1-shot lead. Like, I think he gets the job done. He looked confident out there. He never looked. He of all the players, he looked the most chill, confident about everything the entire time, which is why I never really was that worried about him like doing something like he did on 18. But what makes it hurt a little bit less is CD could have won by like 5 shots. He got robbed in the final round multiple times. There was probably 3 or 4 putts from like the worm cam view where I was like,
Did you see my tweet about it yesterday?
Yeah.
He was literally 4 inches from being minus 23, like truthfully in that final round.
Yeah, he had from the worm cam view of the putts. There was 3 or 4 in the final round where, when you're watching and you're sweating, you're like, oh, he made that. Like, that's it. and none of them went in. And then on 14, he lands it on the green in 2, great shot, and it trickles off. And then Akshay lands it in the little neck, and his ball doesn't go. Like all the breaks, Akshay hits that tree off the tee and saves par. Everything was going Akshay's way, and everything was going against CD. And I was like, all right, we got it. Like, it's just not meant to be for CD this week. And then he gets it up and down on 17
that was a great
and
up
18.
And down.
Both of them. Like, he was both times he was on kind of the upslope in some, like, not the worst rough, but not great rough either. He gets up and down on 17 and 18. Akshay doesn't get up and down on 14 and 17, and then 3 putts 18. And ultimately, those shots are the ones that decide it. But I felt like it wasn't like Akshay deserved to win with how he played in the final round. I think it was a fair. You could have, if I didn't have a dog in the fight, I would have gone. It's fair that CD or Akshay wins. I think they two were the clear two. One of them deserved to win. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it sucked what happened with Akshay. I really wanted him to win. He had only shown dog at Valero when I bet him there, and he had played great the whole week here. But I was able to get over it faster than I think, A, because it was CD, and B, because at the end of the day, it was a pretty even final round between them that could have gone either way. And probably up until the last hole, I think the breaks were going more Akshay's way than not.
Yeah. And Akshay, I mean, how was he? 22, 20, something like that? Yeah. He's showing his like ceiling in different style of courses, different style of events. He's fine. He'll be fine. There's now 2 straight final rounds where he's blew a drive directly into the trees, like no more than 150 yards, which is like something that you probably got to fix on those final rounds. But it's funny that I thought he did that twice in a row because I had him last week. You probably didn't even see it because you were up ahead, but he did the same thing on 14 last week. So yeah, definitely one of the 2 straight weeks of sweaty finishes, which is good for the tour, good to watch. I mean, I wonder how many people were watching the Rocket Mortgage, but it was definitely a fun event.
Yeah, so pour one out. I'm sure there's other people who had Tom at Travelers and Akshay. Mm-hmm. I actually know people who had Rory also at the U.S. Open, so they've had 3 straight weeks of pain. That's how golf betting goes. I decided long ago that I would not let, to the best of my ability, I will not let bad beats in golf like ruin my day or carry on much beyond the pain of the
Unless
moment.
Denny would have won that versus Akshay, you probably
would then I would never have bet ever again. So it would either way, it would have been fine. But life goes on. It's not that big of a deal. I'm sure Akshay is way more upset about it than I am. I have no beef with Akshay. If he had won, he was going to be high in my dog rankings because like going wire to wire twice in a few months is super impressive. I now have to demote him in the dog rankings for what happened there on 18, also driving it into a tree on 13, not making birdies on the par 5s. Like, it was his to lose. He had it in his hands. He should have won. He didn't. You have to deduct dog points from somebody when they do that. But long term, I think Akshay is the best young American golfer, like the best American under maybe the age of, 25 or something like that. It took a very unconventional path to the PGA Tour versus a lot of these guys coming out of college. But I think without a doubt, it is working. Like he already has 2 wins on tour, should have won this one, was up there at Travelers, finished top 20 at the US Open, I believe, played pretty good at the Masters in his debut. Like the dude.
Memorial too. He was on the weekend. They're at the Memorial too.
Yeah. I mean, I really think he belongs on like the President's Cup team. Like we need to get him into the mix of the Team USA stuff because he's, again, of the people under 25, he's one of the best American. Like Ludwig gets all this hype. If Akshay's already done more in his career than Ludwig has it,
and
much
mixes more too.
Yeah, and at 2-3 years younger. So I'll be upset with what happened, but long term, Akshay to me is one of the best talents in the world of golf.
Agree, 100% agree.
Shout out CD. We don't want to take anything away from our boy. It's great to see him win. It's 2 Rockets. We're going to need to see it elsewhere from CD. That's not going to like him winning Rocket doesn't surprise us. Like no. we expect him to win events like Rocket. We expect him to win these level of events throughout the season. Like I said, it was interesting hearing everybody on the broadcast kind of say the same things we do. Because when you go to these practice rounds at majors and shit like that, and you watch him hit it twice as high as every other player in the field and bomb it off the tee, it's like, how does this guy not win every time? He talked about the mental side a lot, which like that, and it makes sense. If you're that good at golf and you're not performing, It's mental because nothing else would make sense. It sounds like he's been in some dark places. Again, if I'm somebody who's feeling depressed and sad, Seattle would not be the place that I would choose to live. I've made that decision myself. It's dark and dreary there. I'd like to see CD get back into the sunshine. Maybe that brings out, but he went to the hypnotherapist instead and it worked for him.
Yeah, and it might be bad for his career because now a place that's going to be really warm in his heart is going to be Detroit. So he's going to have to go back to Detroit and Seattle to like maybe feel good, and that's probably not the best ideas for Cam. So maybe when we see him in a few weeks, we'll just I got an open room down in West Palm Beach to like live here for a few months, see how that goes, and maybe you might win more.
And then you can talk to him about getting over to Sudal.
Sudal. Yeah. We have a lot to talk to Cam about.
Yeah,
and our TGL team, the TGL team.
Mm-hmm. So all in all, like I said, if somebody was going to win, it's fine. Of the people that were in the mix, he was the one that would be at least upsetting to me if they won. Rye would have been upsetting just because like Rye made a ton of sense. I wanted to bet Rye, and then he was like 28-1, and I'm not going to bet 28-1 Rye. It's a course that makes sense. He was minting fairways until the final round. But when you're only carrying it like 250 off the tee, and then you get in the final round and you're not hitting it straight, that's a big ask. The guy
you have to mention that real quick. That driver off the deck, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
He's not afraid to hit the driver off the deck. He did it a couple of times. That one on 14 just narrowly, and that's when I thought CD had no chance because CD landed his ball on the green and had it trickle into the water, and it's a yellow hazard, so he had to drop even further back. And then Akshay and Rye both narrowly missed the water, and I was like, if you were a CD better, you were pissed. You were like, how could this possibly happen? We're cursed,
right?
And then it comes out for you in the end. That would never happen to me, but shout out to anybody who was on the positive end of that turn of events. The guy who definitely got the most, I think, talk on like social media and things like that and on the broadcast is a guy that we've talked about many times. I'm on the record that I think he has the least dog probably on the entire PGA Tour. So I was not in any way surprised by what happens. Jers, you're a fan of CY. You didn't have him yesterday. I never think he's going to win. Even when he's up there, I never. But for some reason, I think I see these tweets. I see people on social media. They're convinced. They're like stunned that CY blows it again. That the left miss that's always in play for him down the stretch is back in play. That all of a sudden the putts are all coming up short. What were your thoughts? Because like I said, I never think he's going to win. I was never afraid of him the entire week.
Yeah, I mean, zero surprise that he didn't win. Honestly, I didn't think he would do that good. Like we thought that 12-1 was a massive overreaction to a hot weekend of golf. So like he played above my expectation, not above the odds expectation, but he played above how we probably both thought he would. I didn't think he would mix as hard as he did, but even when he was mixing, like I would never thought he was going to win just because the lack of dog. But I will say, I am happy for the way it turned out for Cam Young for his future. This is the most emotion we've ever seen out of Cam Young ever. Like good or bad. He's never showed any emotion. He's had that left miss. He's missed so many putts. Pick the ball up and move along. He was visibly frustrated and upset so much more than we've ever seen. Obviously, he snapped his driver. He was throwing his hands up. He was like pissed when he was leaving putt short. He's never done that before. Like, does he care? Like that, people are asking, does Cam Young care? Because we're on the record for saying that he can care less about if he wins or loses. He plays golf because he's good at playing golf, and that's it. He showed some care. He showed some want. Maybe he wants it more than we've seen. So what's your take on that?
No, I think he wants it. Like my take has been that he doesn't love golf. Like I think he plays golf because like we said, he grew up on a country club. He's obviously been super talented his whole career. Like if you're that good at something that's going to pay you millions of dollars to be pretty good at, you're obviously going to choose that as like a path for life. I think he potentially wants to win too bad to like prove that, like he can do it.
He can do it.
But and I kind of agree with you that like showing the emotion is a step in the right direction, but you've got to show positive emotion out there too. Yeah. Like it can't be 100% negative all the time. And it is 100% negative all of the time. Like they were talking about on the broadcast. Yeah, And that was a huge difference versus like Akshay. Akshay was smiling even when things went bad. He hit that tree. He never looked upset. Like, yeah, he blew it at the end. He should have made that putt. He shouldn't have 3-putted. But his attitude was one of somebody you'd expect to come close to winning the tournament. And even the same with CD. Like, he was shocked when some of those like bad breaks happened to him. He never carried that over into the next shot. I thought even like on 14, he hit it in the water, but instantly he was trying to figure out where to drop it, how he was going to try to get the ball up and down. Like, that's how you win golf tournaments. You don't win golf tournaments by snapping your driver when you are a bomber off of the tee. Like, watching him, I mean, he got there in 2 on 17, which just speaks to like how talented he is with 3-woods. But watching him stand there with his 3-wood teeing up on 17 was just one of the funniest like visuals I've ever seen. Because it's like, dude, what are you doing? You just can't do that. Like, I get it. You're upset. You don't see that happen. You don't see guys breaking their drivers down the stretch of tournaments. Like, you can't do that. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I get it. And again, I always say, like, who am I to judge these guys in this moment? I'd probably break my driver too. But at the end of the day, we watch golf tournaments around the world all of the time. That's just a mistake that you can't make when you're trying to win your first tournament.
Yeah, 100%. And you said those CD reactions. He had the same reactions to like Bryson at the U.S. Open when he narrowly missed putts, and then he picked up. He pouted for a second, picked up and moved on. Played a good hole next. And yeah, Cam Young has to figure out how to bottle those emotions if they're going to be only negative. But I'm walking away from this event with higher hopes in the future than with Cam Young, and I already have higher hopes for Cam Young than 99% of people. Actually, maybe that's not true. 99% of ball knowers, 99% of people who know what they're talking about don't have any expectations for Cam Young. Most people like think he's so talented and wonder why he doesn't win. So I think I'm in a minority of the ball knowers who think Cam Young will win.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as he keeps playing golf, like, I genuinely would not be surprised to one day wake up and be like, Cam Young's retired from like the PGA Tour. Like, I genuinely don't think he likes playing golf, and so I think he wins if he like sticks with it. He's too good not to accidentally stumble into a victory here at some point. I do think that like the left miss that he has with the driver in under the gun, which we've now seen so many times, has to do with his swing. Like, the pause that he does, the motion, the rhythm just gets thrown off under pressure.
Yeah,
because that's not a like rhythmic swing. It's that pause and then go. And if that timing gets a little bit off, boom, you're getting there and snapping it left, which
it's just getting quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once it speeds up, it's fucked.
Which seems like something that you could figure out. Like, you get in these situations enough times, you go, this is my normal tendency. Like, how do I correct it? He hasn't done that yet. And I think it's the same with the putting. They were talking on the broadcast about it, like his grip with his putter and stuff, having to do with why he pushes some of those putts down the stretch. So I think he can figure it out. Like, they're technical things that he'll figure out at some point. But I just think yesterday was like the most perfect example of how I feel. Like, Cam Young displayed exactly.
Yeah,
if I could like drop, if I could like draw up exactly how I would expect Cam Young to play final round based on my opinion of him as a golfer, it was exactly that. So it was nice to see from that perspective.
So it wasn't all bad for you at that Rocket. It was just like a tough loss, but you took some positives away from it.
Yeah, and then same with like Minwoo links course. Like, it couldn't have been a more perfect example of that.
So funny. His approach on 18 was so funny.
Yeah,
I was like, let's go.
He chipped in a million times. He hit it out of bounds on 8, which is like one of the easiest holes on the PGA Tour. He made double bogey on a par 5 yesterday, which was playing like a 4.2 par 5, and he makes all of the things that will not happen to Minwoo on the links at the Scottish when you can hit it wherever the fuck he wants. There's no out of bounds at the Scottish. Just go find your ball and whack it again. The Minwoo links course only take for winning. Again, this is only a take for winning. He can play good at all courses. He just fucks up too many times with crazy shots and doing dumb things. Minwoo is primed for links season. He couldn't be more ready.
He's so ready. Yeah, I wonder what the narrative around him will be the next week, because obviously he's won there before. So hopefully, everyone's gonna tout him as, he's won here before. But that was a DP World Tour event. No one was in there. Shout out Thomas Dietrich. So we're ready for Minwoo season. Hopefully, it doesn't get too out of hand, because honestly, the best case scenario would be an average to less than stellar Scottish Open, and then we could dive in at short. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah, so eyes peeled for Linksys, and Minwoo's trending perfectly for what we expect from him. I will quickly touch on EVR because we both had him. That was the other frustrating thing. I had EVR up there for a reasonable amount, and also Dunlap was kind of on the fringes. So I was like, maybe one of these guys can win if Akshay doesn't. EVR, I actually don't know how he didn't win because he was hitting it like 330 down the middle on every single hole.
Every time. His irons were so bad.
And then he couldn't, like yesterday, he was short of 7 to get it up and down to like that would have tied him for the lead or gotten him like one shot back. It was like a 20-yard pitch from legitimately the fringe. He almost missed the green. He is up there. He's in the CD kind of realm of just like stupidly talented player that I don't understand how he doesn't win more often.
Yeah, I mean, we both said early in the week, like, why is EVR this number? And we clicked them. We should have said the same thing about Cam Davis and just clicked them because there was a good number in that field. And EVR, obviously mixed, was there, had a great round on Friday to get himself in the mix on the weekend, played fine on Saturday to be there on Sunday. And then, but he 3-putt 2, and then he made like birdie, bogey. He was just like,
he bogeyed. He bogeyed the first par 5, and then he didn't get up and down from legitimately almost on the green on.
Yeah, that was like, what are we doing? Because every time I like would watch, I was like half doing something, so I was checking the app. He made a bogey, and I was like, all right, I don't care anymore. And then I'd check back 10 minutes later. Oh, he birdied this par 3. We made like a 30-foot putt. Like, okay, I'm in. And then a bogey, and then it was just like, what are we doing on 7? It was over from there.
Yeah, yep. So all in all, the Rocket continues to be. This is my 3rd straight year of runner-up finishes at the Rocket. Like I mix the Rocket every time. I am upset to lose in a playoff last week, and then effectively a playoff loss because Akshay was tied going to 18. That was a playoff hole basically for him.
Yeah,
brutal. And the worst part about it is, and you, I think you know this, and we talk about this. Now, sure, I'm going to try my fucking best to hit the winner at the John Deere. I'm going to give it my all, as I always do. But it never works out where you get like horrible losses in consecutive weeks and then you win. It's going to be like every guy misses the cut this week. That's just how it goes.
Like that was me the beginning of the season. I had those Sony and Century and Amex, and I was like, okay, I got 3 straight weeks where I basically hit the winner, fell a stroke short, and then it didn't come for X amount of weeks. It doesn't just come. So just stay the course, stay patient. Don't bet more than you should. Just keep doing your thing.
Yep. And that's why having we do the 7 to 8X every week, you stick with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but having consistency is great for the times when the game screws you. And that's just part of the beast of golf betting. I was thinking about the other day. Actually, I was thinking about yesterday because this is when it came into my mind. I bet an entire season of college basketball and like did pretty good, but there was never a day the entire season of betting college basketball where I was upset. Like even there's days where like I would go 0 for 3 and I was just like, cool, we'll just do it again tomorrow. Like golf betting hurts you in a way that is probably unique of any sport. Like especially when you have the guy for 2 straight weeks who is literally winning the tournament from day 1 the entire time. So the whole time, like again, I've been doing this long enough where I don't care that much. Like I care, but I'm not going to let it affect like my day to day. When it's 4 straight days of winning, you kind of get your hopes up. You're kind of like, oh, it's going to happen. It's just unique to golf betting. It's the only thing where it will legitimately, you'll sit on the couch for like 2 hours afterwards and just not speak because you're like, the fuck.
Yeah, the wins are much better. The losses are much worse. And the sweats are times anything else. You can't compare a golf sweat to anything.
And we're going to try to sweat again here at the JDC. Jers, we've already had, well, actually, before we talk about the field, we got to do things the way we normally do them. The keys. What are your keys for the John Deere Classic? For me, it's one of the most kind of legitimately any player could win the JDC, maybe even more than like last week or at Travie. The stats kind of point to, you can gain infinity putting to win here. You can also gain with approach. The thing that stands out a little bit is the around the green. Like the short game here is more important than maybe it was last week in Detroit, for example. But that's kind of how I feel about it. What are you looking for?
Yeah, you got to definitely Vic Lap, and I'll Vic Lap it for you. Your take last week that the Rocket is not a pure putting contest with the Rico Hoy, the definition of that, having a great finish last week. And the ball striking was important last week, like you said. But this week, looking at like the guys who are in the top 3 over the last few years, they're not scared to gain 7 putting. Like that's definitely a sure path. This is one of the true putting contests, I would say. One of the piece of shit putting contests we have on tour. But outside of that, you can never predict who's really going to putt well, play from the fairway, be really good with your middle short irons and wedges. A week where the plotters have real life and are looking at their chops to get ready at this event. So you go to an event with Brennan Todd, Ryan Moore, Lucas Glover in the top 3, Kevin Na the last 3 years, like that. It's like that for a reason. So don't be scared to take chances. Don't be scared to bet guys who are older. Play from the fairway, hit your short irons well.
Yeah, I mean, the last 5 winners have all been top 25 in accuracy on the week. Now, not all of them were coming in necessarily great accuracy. Straka was, and Glover obviously always hits the fairways. Some of these guys, because it is a club down course, there's guys who maybe aren't accurate drivers all the time who can become accurate drivers because they're hitting 3 woods. They're hitting irons off the tee here. I do think, yeah, like the putting plus around the greens here is as important as it is at like any tournament all year. I think the least amount of strokes, I wrote this up on the site. Let me see what I wrote up, actually. I said that of the last 8 years here, the fewest strokes gained putting plus around the greens was 5.2, and the average is 8.4. And there are guys who like Poston, for example, he gained 6 around the green, but only 2.4 putting. And then
he had a really good approach. Did he have a good approach week?
Pretty good.
Or was it a lot around the green?
His best
it might have been the around the green.
His best was around the greens. I mean, he did gain 4.8 approach, but then there's guys like Fratelli who lost on approach and gained, what is this, 3.12 with their short game around the green plus putting. So hit the fairway, and then from there, you're like, I don't care how you gain your strokes once you're in the fairway. Hit the fairway off the tee, and you've got a chance, no matter what type of player you are, no matter what skill you are. We've seen a lot of random winners here from like an odds perspective. We had Patrick Cantlay in this field, Jers. He's out. One of the great disappointments for me of the whole season. We've been talking about Cantlay at the JDC now for weeks. When I heard he was in the field, I canceled my 4th of July plans. My plan was to watch Patrick Cantlay at the JDC. He's out. He probably played too good the last couple of weeks. He doesn't need the FedEx Cup points anymore. That makes Spieth the favorite, which is grotesque, right?
Shout out for Taylor, by the way. This is his first PGA Tour start in like over a year. He's back, but he's won in Europe. Yeah, he hasn't played in the PGA Tour. I think since November of 23, something like that.
He picked up. That was Bahrain, I think it was when he won. I haven't bet the DP in a long time, but I was betting that event. Yeah, Bahrain. Shout out to Bahrain. He was T33 last week at the Italian Open too. So
trending.
Yeah, T20 at the Europe.
That course was pretty insane.
Yeah, we'll talk some DP at the end because I need you to fill me on what took place because I didn't see it. But yeah, so now with the change in the odds, the top of the board below 20 at 16 and 18 is Spieth, Sung, and Sepp. Sung's number 1 in the model this week. Sung has been playing amazing at every course that isn't a major of late. I mean, he's literally finished top 10 or top 12 in 5 straight non-major starts, and he was just T3 at Travelers. Is he your favorite of those 3, or would you be going with Sepp or Spieth in a 3-ball here?
I probably in a 3-ball I'd probably go with Sepp, but Sung, I think he makes sense. I mean, how can he not make sense? I'm in the camp of I don't think you could touch Sungjae Im sub 30-1. He has very little dog, and yeah, he makes sense. What it feels like to me is somewhat of a slow start, somewhat of a people tilting on Twitter, Sungjae not making putts, and a backdoor top 10 when he's out of contention. That's what it feels like for Sungjae. But he's playing great golf. He had his best approach week since Torrey Pines of 2023. So a long time ago. Shout out Willie. He's in. I don't know how I trust them two in the mix on Sunday, even if it's the JDC final group. I'm not sure that's really talking to me. So what do you think about Sung? Do you think he's going to mix hard?
I agree with you in the sense that like I have been in this position with Sung many times where like he's 20-1 in a tournament like this, and you're like, how could Sung not win? I mean, he's a little bit like Xander in the sense that there's green everywhere for Sung. And there hasn't been green for Sung for a lot of this season, but historically, Sung is a guy where it's green across the board, good at everything. His comp courses, like for comps this week, I've got places like Sedgefield and Sanderson and Shriners, like all those places comp really well. He crushes all of the comp courses.
He doesn't have the best history here, right?
I don't think he's played here. Or maybe he's played once. John, yeah, he's played. Let's see. JDC. Yeah, he has played a couple times. He made the cut both times, but nothing amazing. Didn't putted good both times, which I think is interesting, but the approach wasn't great. Yeah, he's just not a guy you think of as like a spike approach guy. And if you want some spike approach this week, my question would be of these three guys is, so in these weak field events we've talked about, there has been a lot of like long shots throughout the year that have been winning these events. But then last week we get a field kind of similar to this one where like the top is not great, but it's okay. And then last week it was like most of the top guys were in the mix down the stretch for the most part, like Akshay and CY and Minwoo, like we're all up there. Tom was the only guy who kind of just didn't care. Which of these odds are the worst? Because like Spieth 16 is horrific with how he's playing currently, but at least it's in the realm of where Spieth would be in a field like this. Sung around 18 kind of makes sense. Sepp 18. Has Sepp ever been below 20-1?
No, I think this is definitely Sepp's shortest odds. Sepp, I think, is in the best long-term form of any of these guys. I mean, it's not, I don't think he is. He's gained 8 ball striking in 8 straight. He's going to play well. Sepp will play well, and he's got the highest floor, I believe. Jordan feels like a guy who's going to shoot -2 or -3 for 3 days and have one -5 round or -6 round, but it's not going to be enough to win. I don't know why he's here. I think he just needs to find something. Like, this is where he won when he was 19. Just channel those 19-year-old vibes. Like, just play free. Stop thinking so much. Like we see him with those iron shots in the fairways. Just like it seems like he's lost. So I think he's just here to play carefree, mindless golf. I honestly don't even know if he's like here that I'm gonna win this week. I think he's like here like I need to just clear my mind, get to Illinois in the farmland, and just play good golf because I got some big weeks coming up. I need to figure something out because I'm not out of the prime of my career. I still got hope going for the next 5 years. What am I doing right now? So I think Jordan Spieth's not here to win, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, he doesn't look like he's capable of winning right now, but I agree with his links track record. It makes sense to try to get something going before the links season because he is so good historically on the links. But yeah, for the top of the board, I mean, I don't think we've ever seen a top of the board quite like this before, if we're being honest. I would still probably pick Sungjae if I had to pick one. I just couldn't do Sepp below 20. It's unfathomable to me. And then Spieth just isn't playing good. So I think Sung would be my pick there, but I'll probably pass that up. But I think I said on the pod last week that I'd probably pass up the top of the board too. And then by the end of I picked Akshay because I was like, fuck, all these guys suck. Akshay is in great form. He could probably do it. And I guess I kind of feel that way about Sung, where he's just playing really good and kind of doing all the things that I'd be looking for. But I agree. I have made mental notes many times in the past to not bet Sung below 30-1. It's like Keith Mitchell. You just don't. His odds are always bad. He never wins.
Bad again here too.
Both Honda champions as well. The next tier, I'll give you 5 guys in the 20s. Rise 22-1. Mav and Keith 25, Davey T and Denny 28. I'll let you go first. Who do you like the best there, and maybe who do you like the least?
It's crazy because literally I bet Keith last week at 45 because his odds drifted a little bit, and I wrote for you this morning, like last night. I'll go back to Keith at 60. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, if Keith was 60, I would bet him here. I would, but he's not. Should he probably be 60 plus? Yeah. Even in this field. I don't know why he's 28-1. I guess he's still striping his irons. Like, even though he had a bad week last week, he still had his irons so well. But I don't know how you could stomach a Keith at this price. Maverick finally, when he was chalk, he finally forgot how to hit his irons. He's been hitting his irons so well when no one was on him. He gets chalky in a shit field. He goes back to normal Maverick. Denny, like, I have a funny Denny stat. Like, the last 2 times he's played a TPC course, he's gained on approach. The last 11 times he's played a non-TPC course, he's lost strokes on approach. It's like, but he's so little dog. I can see him being like first round leader, and that's it. It's just funny. Like, what this is a Denny course. What are your thoughts on Denny? I was actually wanted to ask you about him.
I don't hate it. Like you give me a course, like I said, where all that you can win the tournament by gaining like 10 strokes around the greens plus putting. Denny can absolutely do that. He's if anyone in the field, he's probably the most capable. He has been hitting his irons better this season, I would say. Like not amazing by any stretch, but fine. The driving's still bad, but what's his driving historically here? What I like to do with these guys who aren't good drivers is
see how they've driven it there.
Yeah, have you gained strokes at this course? And he has. Like he's gained strokes here plenty of times off the tee. So of these guys, I mean, it's 28-1 on Denny. It's terrible odds. I don't hate it.
I can do it. I can do it.
Like I could be down. I will say Mav, I was out on Mav last week. Hard. Like I told you that if you bet Mav, I wasn't going to put it on the site. You did bet Mav. You have to. He's your guy. It didn't make sense to me because I saw Rocket so much as like you have to spike on approach to win Rocket. I would like you to spike on approach to win JDC, but you don't have to. I actually think this is a better course for Mav than Rocket was, simply because he could scramble his way to like a high finish, and he's capable of, similar to Denny, of gaining a ton of strokes around the greens. Who I find interesting here is Davey T, because we've talked about Davey T for a long time, and he could, coming out of college, Davey T could have been Scotty. Like they're very similar styles of players, just like phenomenal drivers, really good college players, like really good amateur players. I think Davey T has an extraordinarily high potential as a player. Now, he's not going to become Scotty, obviously, now. But the weird thing about him is that he's always been good, but he could never get above like a T20 finish. He was like stuck around T20s for the last 2 years on tour. He was always fine. He had the Amex where he popped. It's finally coming together for Davey T. He has runner-up finishes at Myrtle Beach and Rocket, top 10 at the U.S. Open, top 20 at Schwab. He's driving it great. He's good at everything. The putter's probably the weakest point of his game, but he's really good around the green. So I've been out on Davey T pretty much all year, simply because I've been waiting for him to actually mix and not just finish T20 every week with like light green across the board. I'm going to give him a closer look this week than I think I have at any point this season, just because I think he's a super talented player and it's all starting to come together for him. And this is the type of course where he could win easily.
Yeah, and like he looks more comfortable out there. Like I think, and that's what you're saying. Like he's finally figuring it out and getting above those top 20 because he's always had the talent. If he got off to a little bit of a better start last week, maybe on Friday, kind of had not the best round, he would have firmly mixed because he was just on like the brinks of mixing over the weekend. He didn't really get there, but I definitely like him. This is definitely a bleak number for Davey T. For this range, it's ugly. But back to Keith. This is the only course he's gained on approach every time.
You will not. I refuse to partake in the Keith conversation. But give the pitch. But
no, that's it. That's just it.
Because my problem with Keith is that he can't chip or putt at all. And like you do to chip and putt. If the least amount of strokes gained that somebody had to win here in the last 8 years with their short game was like 5 strokes.
When's the last time Keith's on that? You're right.
Like years. So I think I'd be out on Keith no matter what. But yeah, Davey. What I was going to say quickly about Davey T is he's only lost strokes to the field once, going back to the CJ Cup. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight starts, and in only one round he's lost strokes to the field. He's just playing really good. He last year at this time he was a 0 L50 strokes gained player, like completely flat, and now he's +1 L50. Like I don't know if he wins this week. I don't know if I'm going to bet him this week. I just wanted to note that Davey T is trending, and I still think Davey T has the potential to be like mixing in majors, an elite level player, and it's nice to see him playing well. So would not be surprised to see him break through here. The 30s range has, wow, there's a guy in the 30s. Nick Dunlap is 35-1 this week.
Yeah, I think he opened around like 50.
That's insane.
I love Dunlap too. Like didn't want to expect him to be here, but I think I had bad expectations for everyone. Maybe that also includes Cantlay leaving, which is why I had better expectations. But this is probably the least nuanced track Dunlap's played since he's won at the Amex, and he made a ton of birdies. Like you said, he made a ton of birdies last week.
He was birdieing like every hole.
I'm definitely down for Dunlap. This is like some of the best form he's shown since his win. This is a course where ask you very similar questions to they ask you at PGA West. So 35 is tough. So, but Dunlap makes sense.
I worry about him around the greens too. Like I just think like I like Dunlap. Last week I thought was better for him because historically around the greens at Rocket isn't as important. He still lost strokes around the greens. Didn't putt great, but he's hitting it a lot better off the tee, which I think had been a problem for him earlier in the year too. Dunlap, he's a stud. He's gonna be good. So, but if he won the JDC, I don't think I'd be surprised at all. At 30 and 33, do you like Day or Poston?
I don't know how you can get to Day. He hasn't gained ball striking since February. He's lost that magic he had last year, and he's played here a few, like 5 times, I believe, and he doesn't have a top 10. And for how good Jason Day is, I feel like that's a bit of a concern to not top 10 a given course in your entire career. Poston, there's never like you play Poston at Poston spots, he can heat up in a second, and I love to get ahead of that. So because once he heats up, he goes on those 3 week spurts where it's just like lights out Posting. Like we'll know Thursday morning, Poston could be 3 under through 6, and then he could be off to the races for the week. So I think if you want to bet Poston, go there. If he was 23-1, 25-1, no one would be surprised just because of his style of play and course history. So yeah, I like Poston more than Day for sure.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Sam Stevens remains terrible odds. He's 40-1. He played good last week. Again, he was terrible odds. He never gains on approach, but he's a great driver, great short game. That's good enough again to finish top 10 here. I would think. I can't bet him at 40-1. Same with Kevin Yu, 45-1 on Kevin Yu. Has Kevin Yu ever been 45-1 before? Not that I can remember. Cole's 55-1. He's trending back in the right direction. Hostler's 55. Anything exciting in those 4 guys that I just mentioned?
Definitely Vic and Kevin Yu last week. He was like a DFS staple that I wrote up. He helped cash me a top 10 lineup last week, and what he didn't really. It was a really weird week for him statistically, and I think I don't know why he's the number that he is. I would never chase this number. I don't think Sam Stevens. I don't know if I started this bit with Sam Stevens, but that's who I'm talking about. I don't know if this is the shortest odds he's ever been, but you say he's always been bad odds. I don't think chasing it's really the best idea because I don't think he had the best statistic profile. I'm just going to take my Sam Stevens money and run with it because it worked last week and then be done with it. And then this range is weird. Beau Hostler, 50-1. Like I feel like he could be 35-1 and no one would really care. Eric Cole will never win. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could do any of these guys. I'd give Cole a look just because he's starting to play better, but I agree he's got no dog, and so I'd have to be out. Monty's 55-1. I quickly wanted to. Okay, good.
We have to talk about him. Yes.
Yeah, his Saturday round at the Rocket Mortgage is maybe the worst round in the history of the PGA Tour. I wanted him off the course because I've got Akshay. We're trying to win the tournament and we're having to play a pro-am with Monty out here fucking topping shots, shanking it off trees on par 3s. Like it was disrespectful in my opinion, his performance. Like, what are you doing, man? You go from first place to 6th or like 3rd place. You're in the final group and you're putting on 18 to move from 60th place to 54th place. Like what? What?
He might as well have just stayed on the course Saturday because his tee time was so early Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Like that was pathetic from Monty. And like, remember when Monty came out on tour and people were comparing him to like Tom Kim and like this guy? He finished literally top 15 every week without gaining like anything ball striking. It was just all putter. He's so unserious. It's so funny. Yeah, him and Cam Davis withdrew like a little bit ago. So tough seeing Cam was here.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said this about any player. And then again, we're just doing a podcast for fun. These guys are playing golf for millions of dollars. Like, again, who am I to say anything about them? I truly and utterly dislike Taylor Montgomery. Like,
I agree. No, I'm with you.
My core. Like, I just strongly dislike him. I think he I don't know what it is. When I see him on the TV, I instantly hope something bad happens to him every single time. And then to have to deal with watching him play with Akshay in the mix while him and Rye are just striping every single hole trying to play serious golf, and he's out there hacking around like a 20 handicap. It's just like, dude, have some respect for the game. You can't.
He's a generational P-round player, right?
Yeah, sometimes. I first saw him at the U.S. Open at Brookline. I was like, this guy could be sick. Now I really don't like him. That was
the same at Honda. I was like,
just
what the fuck?
Horrible,
this guy looks so good
to watch in every single way. Luke Clance.
Shout out.
Absolute stripe show. He's 60-1 this week. Good. good player. What do we think
player,
about Luke
like,
Clanton?
I say, like, these young guys, they don't know anything else but just play golf. And this kid, like, he was having a great time, smiling over every shot, every putt, every missed putt. And we don't really know what type of player he'll be yet. The two places that he's been at, of course, he really just sent it off the tee with the U.S. Open and the Rocket. So definitely interested to see how he plays this week. I feel like people try to bet him this week and get ahead because he was there like all weekend. He was around. He didn't really just blow up. He didn't have that like blow up hole. Good to see Luke Clanton play well. He's going to be good. I want to skip down to Thor Bjornsson. I really like him this week. Really do, because his odds, they didn't double, but they've increased. And I mean, nothing statistically has been great with Thor Bjornsson, but when Ludwig came out and we see Ludwig, we're like, all right, we want this guy at like Rocket. We want this guy at Torrey Pines, these big courses. Same thing with Thor Bjornsson. We're like, this guy's a bomber. This guy hits the driver a ton of places. We've seen him top 5 at Travelers, and we've seen him miss the cut at Rocket. What if he gets like Ludwig and just has a really good week at another short positional course? We don't know. And at 70-1 for the talent that he is, I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna try just because we don't know.
And he was T17 here last year.
Oh, he played this event last year?
He's got reps. He's ready.
I didn't even know that. Let's do it.
All right. Thor Bjornsson, there you go. And a chance to further himself for the Viking Cup squad here at
100%
this week. We still don't know which side he's going to play for, US or the Viking Cup. He's obviously has the option of playing for either side. Let's do random year of the week. These odds.
Thor Bjornsson.
Yeah, obviously Thor Bjornsson. Let me see if I can. I'm just looking through the guys in the field this week on the international scene. It's tough out here, George.
Seamus Power is the best bet on the board.
You've used Seamus now too many times, I think, for random Euro of the week.
But it's worked. He always plays well, like top 20.
How did he play? Did he play last week?
No, he didn't play last week, but he played. He gained in every category at the Travelers.
Did he?
And let
me see.
And what are his odds?
He's 50. Longer odds than a lot of these guys. He is.
This is a true. We're seeing this in real time. This is a Cam Davis last week. This is a EVR last week. Why is Seamus Power 70-1? He just played in an elevated event, gained in every single category, played good at Harbor Town. You play Seamus on these courses, and he played here 5 times, made the cut every single time, and has never lost ball striking.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say no more Seamus just because I feel like we've been bringing him up for random year of the week. But to your point, it worked at Travelers, T20, gaining across the board. This is a Seamus course. So I'm down for Seamus random year of the week. I'm just trying to see if there's even any other random Euros. Once Sepp is 18-1, random Euro of the week kind of gets thrown off because we don't even know how to function with that. Valimaki's 150, maybe.
It was bad last week.
Was it? What about Jorge Camps? He's 170-1, maybe. There's not a lot of Euros in the field this week. I think the John Deere is a little too. It's 4th of July weekend. It's the John Deere.
They're coming over next week because they got the joined events, whatever.
But yeah, I agree. Based on what I'm seeing here, I'd have to agree.
What about Ben Griffin? We didn't talk about Ben Griffin. I feel like this is a Ben Griffin spot.
I was on him last week. He played fine. He kind of faded over the weekend. He's another one of those guys where you never get good odds. He's 60-1. I think I bet him around like 70-80-1 last week. I agree, short game in playing solid enough. I don't know if he can hit enough fairways. I don't trust him with the driver. What about
David Skins?
Davey Skins.
Striped his irons last week.
What about Neil Ship? He's 90-1. Is Neil Ship elite?
Yeah.
Is Neil Ship elite? People are asking.
Like we don't know like really what kind of golfer he is yet, but he's good. He might just be good.
What was his profile last week? He striped his irons. Yeah. But Neil Ship, like if you're low am at the US Open, I mean, and the Masters, like you're just good at golf. Like he's just freaking good. 90-1 too. Yeah,
and I mean he T10. What did he finish this week?
He was T20. He putted terrible in the final round, but he was 6th tee to green and second on approach and 18th around the greens. Neil Ship could bet.
I mean, random of the week. What are we doing? It's Rio. This is a Rio course if I've ever seen one.
I think it's the highest Rio's ever been in the model this week.
Really? Why didn't you bring that up? What are his odds?
He is 90, I think. Hold on.
I love that.
Rio. Nope. Fuck. He's 65, but maybe he drifts. Maybe he drifts. We could get a
I
better
don't
number.
even hate that though. Like, damn.
Yeah. He. I could see it. I could see it. He hits the fairway. The short game's fine. It's just one of those weeks where, like, what are we even gonna do? Because the top of the board, we just talked about all three players' odds are terrible, and like we can't bet Sung. But then you get down the board, and we're talking about guys who it'd be similar to last week, where it's like there's not a lot of CDs this range of the board. Guys who have actually won, guys with a lot of talent who are just looking to break through. I mean, at 100-1, you've got guys like Mac Meissner. Like, he's a nice player, but he's not going to win. Knapp's 100. He's could win, I guess. But there's just not a lot of guys who it makes sense, I think, to just do a long shot card. But then the top of the board odds suck. So, like, what do we do?
I know I said this, but I truthfully think Seamus Power is the best bet on the board at his number versus like the quality of player he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's the same price as Doug Gim.
Home game. Svensson too. He played bad last week, but
yeah, he was too popular last week. I think that was
obviously
never going to work. It was never going to work last week. He loses approach and around the greens for the first time in it forever. Another guy where I don't trust the putter to win, but
you can win at RSM. You can win here.
Yeah, he's got 3 top 25 finishes at the JDC. I think he finishes top 25 again. I don't think I could bet Svensson to win. Shank, home game for Shank. What about Shank?
Shank. Look at his stats. You're gonna laugh. Just look at his stats. They're one of the funniest I've seen of a golfer in 2024.
He looks like Montgomery with his stats. That's not.
They're so funny. Like, I'm not sure what's happened to him. I saw him at the gas station, and I was like, "You think it's gonna be a good week? You think it's gonna be a good week here?" He goes, "I'll tell you on Sunday." It wasn't a good week.
Want to know who he probably didn't even make it to Sunday, did he?
No, he did miss the cut. That was at the US Open.
Davis Riley, he can at least win. He's 90-1. Toasty was not a good week for Toasty at the Rocket.
I'll bet him at the Rocket every year.
I'll return to Chandler Phillips in the hundreds. Why not? He can make birdies.
Yeah, I do. Like, he was like third in my model.
ZJ's been playing nice. He's 120-1. This is effectively the best chance that he has to win again on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, no,
He 3-putted 18 or 9 on Thursday from like 20. He 4-putted from 20 feet, and I tweeted about that.
He's playing as good as like he has in a long time, heading into a course that like he's fucked at.
The Cootie brothers. I'm always gonna have my eyes on the Cootie brothers. I was on Pearson last week, made the cut, didn't do anything special, but they could mix an event like this. But overall, this is a terrible field. There's not a lot of value. I think we're going to have to bet some numbers that we don't like of guys in the 20s, because I think what we're seeing in these events is it's like the top of the board guys are just better. Like, I don't know how to describe it. And they're good enough to be like finish in the top 10. And then there's going to be 1 or 2 random guys, 80, 100 plus. But I don't think it's one of those weeks where we just have a bunch of down the board guys, just because the field drops off so heavily. I mean, Lucas Glove 60-1. Why not Lucas Glove?
Why not? Literally, why not? He's playing fine. And literally, I don't make any bets on Monday, but I'm betting Seamus as we speak, because I don't want that number to move.
I mean, Lucas Glove was just T12 at the Schwab not long ago.
And and that was his best putting performance in like 6 years.
Yeah, and now his short game's been a little bit off, but yeah, his last 2 years at the JDC or his last 3 years at the JDC, last 4 years at the JDC, T6 cut, win T10, and he's 60-1, and he can win. Like, I'd rather bet Glover at 60 than fucking Aaron Rye at 22. Like, Rye's
I'm now excited for the JDC. I mean, not that I never wasn't. Like, I'm excited now.
And that's what the pod's all about. I hope other people are excited about the JDC. We clearly have no idea what we're going to do. We're thinking out loud. We'll try to find the winners. We'll try to get them up on the site. We'll try to shake off 3 straight weeks for us of truly heartbreaking losses.
We're into July now. This is definitely a big month.
This is a big month. Huge month. Yeah, let's quickly. What's going on in the DP? I know it was Italian Open last week. I know Marcel Siem won it.
It is the BMW International.
Oh, okay.
It's a fun one. Victor won there a few years ago.
But what took place in Italy? Because it sounded like a thrilling finish.
Yeah, so we moved to a different course. It's like some super private course because they're usually at Marcus Simone, very pristine. This course was like apparently super exclusive, but it looked like how the CJ Cup looked like, just super poor grass. The around the greens were super spotty. Guys couldn't get the ball up and down, and it was just as DP as you could possibly imagine. Like -10 lead going into Sunday, -7 lead after day one, and the course got comically firm over each day. And I watched like a lot because I had Charms in the mix and I had Owen Ferguson in the mix. Charms was leader after 54 holes.
If it's getting firm and difficult, Charms seems like the type of guy you'd want.
Exactly. So he was there on Sunday. It was in the second to last group, tied for first. And then Rosner made the cut on the number, shot 62 to get into the final group on Sunday. And then between him and Seam on the back nine, they just started imploding. They were all the way to 13 under, got down to 10, 9, and Tom McKibben posted 10 under 4 hours before they teed off, or when they way long ago. And he's just hanging out. 10 unders looking better and better. Marcel, 3 putts. Marcel makes another bogey. Marcel heads to 18 with a down 1, puts it to 20 feet, makes birdie. And playoff, they play the hole again, makes birdie. That's dog. Marcel Seam has dog.
Wow. I wish McKibben would have won because we're obviously Mckibben's our guy. He's in the Young Guns stable for us. I want him. I mean, he's got to be in position to. He's got to be in position
get to the tour.
Yeah, he's
honestly. I wanted McKibben to win too because fuck Shane Lowry, dude. Get Northern Ireland a Olympic team. Him and Rory would fuck. They're boys too.
I mean, McKibben's been lighting it up on the DP this year. 2nd, 6th, T8, T23, T7 cut, T9.
The last 2 weeks they were backdoor Sunday like insane rounds. He was like just down and out, and then Sunday he shot like 64 and then I think 65. So went super low.
I'm looking at the BMW International odds right now, and I've got pretty exciting news. Ryan Fox is headed over to play. He's 20-1. I've bet him at this event before. He plays good here. I'm going to bet that as soon as the pod.
He's 20-1.
20-1 Ryan Fox. And this is an event where Thristy Law won it last year after playing the PGA, and he came over. Haotong won the year before over Tommy Peets, and Victor won the year before that. Like the guys, Fitz was second the time before that. The guys who come over from the PGA Tour usually play well at this event.
This was in the field. Damn.
Reed's playing again, but yeah, Fox 20-1.
Why is Reed playing again? Where did Reed finish last week, by the way?
Reed finished. He was T29. T29. He gained approach, lost everything else. He lost so much putting. That's unlike P. Reed.
So funny. Oh, and I had Sean Crocker last week too. He finished 1 back. That was a tough one.
But yeah, so we got the BMW International Open. Ryan Fox will be there. Jordan Smith will be there. Bernd Wies. I like that Bernd Wies is back full time on the DP now. But yeah, this week, this is for the ball knowers. And then next week, we get Scottish plus, I think we've got, is that when we start the crossover events?
Yes, we have 2 next week. We have Scottish and Barbasol, I think. But I think it's the ISCO.
Scottish and it's now the ISCO, the ISCO Championship
and Live Valley.
And Live Valley. So next week's going to be sick. And then we got Boots at the Open.
And Cuda?
And Cuda, yeah. And then we finished the year with 3M and Wyndham. And I expect to hit a winner at Wyndham. So
we have so many golf tournaments this coming up.
Yeah, July will be one of the most content-heavy months on the site for tournaments. Hopefully we can hit some winners. Hopefully these close calls that we've been suffering are just the pain before some brighter days ahead of us. Matt, Jers, I appreciate you coming on here. Have a great 4th of July, and look forward to finding out who you're going to be on this week at TPC Deere Run.
You as well. Let's have a week.